My talk today is called Your Sacred Yes. Your sacred yes. And the spiritual principle that I'm talking about today really kind of comes down to self-love or self-worth. We just witnessed a very sacred yes with the installation of our 6 new practitioners. And for them to get to this point, it's beneficial, I think, to recognize their sacred yes. You know, what I know for myself personally, and I think every practitioner here, our sacred yes started with this divine idea, right? Think of it like a seed, a divine idea, a seed that just kind of bloop, popped right in one day, maybe out of the blue, maybe surprised you, maybe scared you, maybe terrified you, I don't know. But the thing is that this idea, this divine idea, this seed idea, showed up for each of these beloveds many years ago, and they nurtured it, and they watered it. They put it out in the sun. They certainly pulled a lot of weeds. They created the right condition for growth and expansion for this divine idea in the mind of God, this seed idea to flourish and grow, to become a practitioner. They courted their capacity for self-love. They got comfortable with that idea. They got to a place where they could stand in the truth of their worthiness so that they could birth this divine idea into the world. And like any idea, it could have remained dormant. It could have remained just an idea. How many of us have had ideas that we just ignored, that we let go dormant? Can you think, perhaps in this moment, of an idea that's wanting to be birthed forth from you? We'll get to that in a moment. All 6 of these practitioners decided to nurture and grow. They decided to nurture their sacred yes. A sacred yes requires nurturing. Shonda Rhimes wrote, "Every yes changes something in me. Every yes is a bit more transformative. Every yes sparks some new phase of revolution." Our yeses can be the catalysts for transformative and revolutionary change in our lives, which then transforms and revolutionizes the lives of all of the people around us, which then ripples out into the world. Do you see how that works? One yes creates positive, transformative, and revolutionary change. So it's much bigger than just us. We receive this divine idea, this seed, we think it's just about us. Oh, honey, no. You are the channel for which the divine is seeking for it to be born from so that greater change and good can come into the world. You see how we all work together for the highest and best for each other through these divine ideas, whatever they may be. One of the great markers of our lives happens once a year. It is our birthday. Birthdays are a very big deal in our family. And last weekend, when Shelley spoke, I was with my family celebrating 2 birthdays. The first was our sweet baby Jude, my angel nephew. It just so happens that Jude's mama, my sister Kelly, is now practitioner Kelly. How fun is that? And Jude is our miracle baby. For those of you who have a miracle baby in your family in whatever way that came about, or you know someone who does, you know exactly what I'm talking about. Last weekend, Jude's first birthday was a big deal. And then a few days later, our dad, Bob, hi, Dad, turned 83. And one of the things we did at his birthday celebration, while Jude was on one of the family members' laps, was we went around the table and we each shared a favorite memory of our dad. I treasure my dad, and it was great joy. And it was amazing to see him sitting at the table, receiving all of the love and gratitude, and seeing him kind of scooch in close to my mom. They will be married 57 years this year. And just sitting there and observing and thinking about all of the yeses it took him to get to this place today. And then I thought of all of the yeses that Jude will make in his lifetime. From moment to moment, we are given the divine opportunity to choose to turn left or right, to look up or look down, to say yes or no. And the grand sum total of our choices is outpictured in the life we currently have. So we have this loving, gentle invitation to look at our lives and look at the choices that we have made and celebrate them, or perhaps make new choices, maybe. Joseph Campbell wrote, "The big question is whether you are going to be able to say a hearty yes to your adventure." A hearty yes to your adventure. I believe Joseph Campbell was talking about the adventure of your life, your whole life. The big question is whether you are able to say a hearty yes or not. We are always at choice. And isn't that wonderful that we have free will? We get to choose. We get to choose. Between the age of 1 and say 83, when you think about it, every single one of our sacred yeses are connected to some sort of hearty no. Think about it. All of us get to the yes after we accomplish the no. Last week, Shelley talked so beautifully about the power of light, that there is this property in light that, as far as we know, can act as both a particle and a wave. It can act like two different things at once, both on our behalf. And this got me thinking about this idea of our sacred yes, that for every yes, every positive decision we have made in our lives, we have said no to that which is no longer serving us. Both of these things, just like the particle and the wave, work for us. They work for us. So if you're sitting here today or listening to this, and you have said no to something in your life, to anything, and perhaps that has been difficult for you, and maybe on some level you are still processing that, I'm going to invite you to consider reframing it as your divine no. Doesn't that sound better? I am divinely saying no. It sounds better. But it really shifts it, doesn't it? It shifts that perspective. And this healthy awareness can create a softening for you. For example, leaving something or someone or some situation is often the holiest choice you can make. And if you can think of it as your divine no, in this way, as a holy choice, for one, it makes leaving whatever it is a lot easier if you understand it as a spiritual practice. Saying no is just as much a spiritual practice as saying yes. But in this society, we don't learn that. We don't learn that. Not yet. Not yet. When you are able to do this and say to yourself, this is a divine no. This is a spiritual no. This is a clear no. It creates the spaciousness and the room within yourself for an authentic, big, audacious, glorious, sacred yes. They can't exist at the same time. They can't. These practitioners would not be practitioners today if they stayed in the consciousness of unworthiness. It wouldn't have happened, right? Now, you might be in a situation where you don't yet know what your yes is, your next sacred yes is. And I will share with you that the more that you notice what it is that you no longer want, the clearer it will be what you do want. That glorious yes will make itself known for you. This is how it works. For example, no, I will no longer talk about myself harshly. Yes, I will love myself. No, I will no longer engage in that destructive behavior. Yes, I will love myself. I will love myself enough to lay that thing down or stop doing that thing. No, I will no longer stay in that toxic relationship. Yes, I will love myself enough to know my worth to leave, and when the time comes, I will create a new and healthy relationship. No, I will not remain in a job that is soul-crushing or a career that hurts my heart. Yes, I will take the initiative to work, to call something divine in that fills my soul. Do you see? Every sacred yes requires a clear, hearty, divine no. Now, some of us have a hard time saying no, don't we? I get it. I really, really get it. And so I'm going to give you another perspective, another way of perhaps looking at it. I ask you in this moment, in the safety and the sacredness of this sanctuary here and online, is there anything in your life right now, anything in your life right now that is bringing you down? That may be hurting your spirit, even a little bit. That's hard, maybe. If so, I would like you to consider just looking at it straight on and saying, thank you, but no thank you. This is a divine no. Thank you, but no thank you. This is a divine no. Understanding that this divine no is for the highest good for you and for all of those around you. Again, as I just explained, it's never just one choice for one person because we're all connected. So when you are staying in that toxic relationship, the thing that's bringing you down, the thing that is maybe feeling hard on your heart, it impacts all the people around you. And sometimes that is enough for someone to say, well, I don't want to harm the people around me by staying in this dysfunction. Oh, I can give a divine no to that if it's hurting others. Sometimes for some people, depending on where you are in your own journey, that helps. That helps sometimes. Thinking about the people around you that are impacted by you staying in something that is harming or hurting in any way your spirit or your soul. And if you need support in your no, know that we certainly have a lot of that here. We have a lot of support here. We have trained practitioners who will pray with you, who will counsel you if needed, or you could talk to a trusted friend or see a therapist. You're not alone in your no loves, ever. I assure you. Maybe you are in a place now where you're just really unsure of what your next step ought to be. Maybe that's where you fall in this conversation. You know, welcome to humanhood. Roughly 2,000 years ago-ish, Saint Irenaeus wrote, "The glory of God is a human being fully alive." Isn't that awesome? The glory of God is a human being fully alive. What makes us fully alive, my loves, is when we are in alignment with what our soul is nudging us forward to experience. What makes us fully alive, my loves, is when we are free enough to fully experience the full present moment that is right in front of us without all the other stuff. That is what it is to live fully alive. This is a creative universe, everything in it, everything we see, every sound we hear, every being, every human being comes from the creative force of this benevolent, loving universe. And what makes us fully alive as human beings is to be aligned with this creative force. And when we are mired down, when we are allowing those seeds to go dormant, when we are not stepping into our sacred yes moment to moment, we make it very difficult for the creative force of the universe to move through us and to work through us. We don't mean to, but that's what happens. So how do we align with this creative force, you may be thinking? How do we step into our life purpose or our next yes, you may be thinking? 2 words. We listen. We listen. Easier said than done, I know. A spiritual tool we talk a lot about here is meditation, because it helps us to train ourselves to deeply listen, to tune out the noise of the busy world, and to tune into the truth of spirit at the center of our soul. And if you are not a meditator yet, I invite you to start with guided meditation. That's how I started. Baby steps, 5 minutes a day. You can Google guided meditations. There's a gazillion of them. You can get Insight Timer. That's my favorite app on my phone. It's right there. You can time your meditations every day. And you can just build a little bit at a time. If it's like going to the gym, building a muscle. Build this inner strength to be able to listen to the divine wisdom at the center of your being, and it will never steer you wrong. It will never steer you wrong. The question then becomes, if you want to experience the glory of God, the source energy of spirit, what is it that makes you feel fully alive? For some people, it's hard to tune into what that even is. Many people have had several careers. We're living so much longer now. What is it? What is it that is calling me, you may be asking? Think about this creative universe. Could it be that when you are creating something, anything, a piece of art, a new recipe, when you build something with your hands, or maybe when you have your hands in the earth, in the garden, maybe what makes you feel most alive is travel, or studying and learning something new, or connecting with a dear friend over a cup of tea. Maybe it's spending time with your kids or your grandkids or your fur babies. Maybe you feel most alive when you are spending time in Mother Nature. Maybe it's when you are being of service. Maybe it's a lot of these things. Those are just some ideas. Let's just take a moment. I invite you to close your eyes, those of you online, or you can gaze them downward if that's more comfortable for you. I invite you to take a deep breath. Let's explore this a little bit. Taking in a full, deep breath, allowing yourself to turn within to that inner wisdom, that inner light, that inner teacher, that pure love that is at the center of your being. I invite you to simply and gently ask your inner wisdom guide, what is my next sacred yes? What is it that I am being called into? What is it that will bring me a greater sense of contentment or joy or peace or inspiration? Perhaps this requires you to let go of something, perhaps doubt or fear. Just be with that. It's okay. Perhaps it's about simply accepting something. Just listen for a moment for you. What is calling you? What are you being called to become now? And just let this be calm and easy. You can always give yourself permission to receive this information later, to have it keep coming for you. What are you being called into? I invite you to take a deep breath. And when you're ready, just gently return to the room. This week, I invite you to stay with this question. Allow your inner wisdom to inform you. You know, this life is a holy process, isn't it? And we are the collective holy process of becoming our true selves and shining that light out into the world to give others permission to do the same. Now, sometimes, and maybe even after that, you may be sitting there and you may be thinking, yes, Shannon, this sacred yes business takes a whole lot of patience. I want it now. Anybody? Anybody? Thing is, when you have gained clarity on what it is that you want to bring into your life, sometimes, it feels so good and it feels so exciting. When you're in the beginning of a project or something, right? You're like, not even halfway there, third, and then it just you just starts to be like, come on already, So the temptation here, because it feels so good in the very beginning, is to rush. And what happens when we rush the process is we inadvertently and unconsciously skip very important steps. Steps that would have greatly served you and made it a whole lot easier had you gotten quiet and listened and paid attention. So if you are a person who tends to go full speed ahead, and I know that so well, I am really speaking from experience here. If you get fixated on a goal, do yourself and everyone around you a favor and get curious about why that might be. What is that about? What is that rush about really? Because a true sacred yes, the yes that I'm talking about today, requires a deep calm. It requires profound listening and a level of knowing and assurance and understanding that all things are happening in divine time, in the flow of the divine, to ensure that we don't skip any steps. Building your consciousness cannot be rushed. It cannot be rushed. Meditation starts with 5 minutes and goes from there. If you start at 45 minutes, you may last 3 days, maybe. Right? You'll just stop. No, thank you. You build. Anything in your life requires that level of deep listening. Otherwise, we just lead with our ego, loves. We don't mean to, but we do. That's what happens. You can ask yourself, Where am I fighting the flow of the divine in my life right now? Where may I be fighting that unconsciously? If you are a religious goal setter, this week, just humor me, I invite you to have a new thought about that. Instead of seeing your thing or things as goals to achieve, I invite you to see this as your process of your greater becoming. Whatever it is, it will apply to anything. It will apply to anything. See this as the process of your greater becoming, which means your greater growth, which in turn means your greater peace, which ultimately means that you live and walk and breathe from a place of self-love. Rob Bell wrote, "All of life is spiritual. You don't have a spiritual life. You are a spiritual life." Your whole life is spiritual. We say all the time, there is no place where God is not. There is no spot where God is not. Spirit is in, through, and as all things, and that is in your spiritual life, the life that you are breathing right now. It is all of the divine. And so this week, I invite you to look at the totality of your life as a spiritual one. You will see it very differently. Even just today, we're going to go downstairs and we're going to celebrate these beloveds. See everything this day as spiritual. See it as being of the divine. It will shift everything for you. Number 2, I invite you to listen deeply, to meditate, and to just notice what is it within you, what situation, what is it that is wanting perhaps to be released, maybe, what is your divine no? Allow that to simply be amplified so that you can then move into your sacred yes. And finally, I invite you to just notice where you may be rushing and look underneath that with great love and with great care, and give yourself permission to slow down, to listen, and to simply become.